As for me, I dedicate my quest to King Halvor II, Master of the Realm, Lord of the Lands.
Greedy pontificating buffoon!
I will not have you speaking ill of my king.
Why is he doing that?
Stop your petty human bickering. Our cause will serve the good of nature. The only way that goodness will be served will be by separating Taraptus from his infernal magic.
Are we gonna stand here talking all night, or are we gonna nail Taraptus?
They are not mutually exclusive options. If we don't nail Taraptus, the night will never end.
Wizard, I should tell you I don't like your headgear. Are you not familiar with the wizard's magical transformation?
No, I am not.
No animal was lost. I was transformed to a coyote to learn the ways of nature.
Have you forgotten our quest? Onward.
Onward.
Move on.
With whom are you communicating now, Elf?
He speaks of present danger. Stand aside! I thought you were a friend of the trees.
I speak to their spirits. This one was corrupted by sorcery.
What would make a sorcerer so evil?
Taraptus shall suffer for his perversion of nature. Look! The magic within those walls, if unleashed, could destroy the entire kingdom. If it were used for good, it would create a golden age. A golden age of running ropes and fireflies and summer nights. Gather close, quickly!
Quickly, wizard!
Fight! Voice sounds dangerously familiar.
Let's hurry up and get out of here before the dragon comes to search again. Now shut up, walk slow.
Yeah, I hate working for sorcerers. Sorcerers! Like this miserable Taraptus. They never pay. You always end up broke. You! I mean, me! I go to collect my money, and next thing you know, I'm hypnotized into saying I don't want it. Alright. I don't want it. I mean, I do want it. But they tricked me. I just told you. I mean, me. Don't you pay any attention.
Hey, Elf, what is this thing?
You miserable...
An owlbear. They're not nearly as extinct as they should be.
Except you and me.
Try flattering him.
I talk to
Flattering
you. I can have
him?
better company up here. And, you know,
Hey, handsome.
Hey, oh, hey, come back right there.
Congratulations! You have infiltrated your first castle.
So now where do we go?
Go anywhere you want.
I didn't want to be with the rest of these guys, could I go off on my own?
Of course. At your own risk.
You left us around the owlbear's neck.
Okay, I got us in here. Now you take us to Taraptus.
There are many twists and turns in this castle. I'm only familiar with some of them.
I thought you infiltrated this place.
Raptus uses his magic to constantly shift the walls.
Then how will you know where we'll find him?
I don't. In fact, I'm not sure I'll know him if I see him. I've only seen him once, and that was in a shadow.
Great. We have a guide who doesn't know where he's going, leading us to a man he won't know on sight. You guys are on your own.
Well, that's fine. I work better alone anyways. If we split up, we'll be able to cover more territory.
Okay, thief. You're walking along. You hear something around a wall. What do you want to do?
I'll cut him to shreds.
Elf, you hear something. What do you want to do?
I'll set upon it with a vengeance.
Elf!
Thief!
Nothing back there.
Nothing here. Let's straight.
You come to the end of a corridor. That's odd. It doesn't seem like there should be a wall here.
I'll try to find a secret entrance.
Roll the die. You see something that confounds you. The wizard has stepped through the wall as if it were made of smoke.
Wizard, where are you? Come on.
You hear a laughing sound not too far away.
Does my elven lord tell me anything?
It sounds like a couple of stupid orcs.
These guys are too dumb to be dangerous. I don't want to hurt him.
Well, what were they guarding?
The garbage.
Wizard and warrior, you see a shadow on the wall. It looks like a minotaur.
Well, let's go toast him.
Let's save our strength for something we really need to fight.
Only something truly worthwhile would warrant a door such as this.
Where's a thief when you need one?
You need a lot more than a thief.
Well, pick the lock, thief. That is what you're good for, isn't it?
Stand aside.
What are you doing?
Checking for traps.
Why didn't you do that before I tried opening it?
Because I figured if there were any traps, you would trigger them.
Oh, very funny. Guess we should have picked a better thief.
Why don't you smash it with your head? That seems to be all that it's good for, isn't it?
Major mistake.
We're on the brink of a fight to the death with a man-scorpion. Let's go through this battle one step at a time and then watch it all play out.
Well, I'm gonna try and roll out of the way.
Dexterity die?
Well, how do I find that out?
Look at your card under dexterity.
Well, it shows a blue die. Is that good?
Well, you, because you're so big and uncoordinated, have to roll a 6 or higher to dodge the man-scorpion.
Oh, very funny.
The elf will shoot an arrow.
You might hit your friend.
That's okay, I don't know him very well.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Just kidding.
Well, he might as well shoot. I'm dead if he doesn't.
I'll crack him with my whip.
And I'll cast a magic missile.
So let's put it all together and see what happens.
Great, I got a defective wand. I'll throw a spell.
Which one?
Hold person. Razu.
The spell takes effect. It's as if he's working in slow motion.
I'll grab his stinger and try and stab him with it.
Roll the die. He's dead, killed by his own poison.
If Taraptus put a man-scorpion in here, he must be guarding something.
Forget him and get me out, you idiot! Who's calling us idiot? If you know what's good for you, you'll use your thick skulls for something and find me, you fools!
Boy, sounds dwarfin'.
Brilliant deduction, you fakester! Now get me out!
Why should we help one who insults us?
Who is this fount of stupidity?
I am Greenthorn, the elf.
Oh! I'm shaking in my boots. You mumbling tree nuzzler! I am the one who fashioned the sunstone from a solid block of ice, and I'm the only one who can destroy it. Believe me, I don't look forward to your company any more than you look forward to mine.
Can we trust this guy?
You'd be a fool to trust me. But just because you can't trust me doesn't mean you don't need me.
I'm not fond of dwarves. But if we need him, we have no choice.
Dwarf, if you made the Sunstone, why has Taraptus imprisoned you?
Are you gonna let me out or not?
Not until you answer the question.
If I did answer it, you wouldn't believe my answer, would you?
Well, he has a point.
The answer is obvious. If the dwarf created the Sunstone, he can also destroy it. So to protect it from destruction, the sorcerer has jailed the dwarf. Now where's your door?
There is no door, you half-wit! You only make a door if you plan on releasing somebody. He never planned on letting me go. I'm walled in here!
It'll take us all night to knock down a wall.
Not with my hammer.
If your hammer is so great, why don't you use it to knock the wall down?
Because I don't have my hammer, you dunderhead! It's on the man-scorpion's belt.
This doesn't look like much of a hammer to me.
Then don't look at it. Use it, you dupe! Out!
Much to your amazement, the wall shatters, revealing a dwarf. But unfortunately, the spell has caused the whole room to crumble into nothingness, and you all tumble into a black void.
Where do you think you're going?
Shh! Maybe I know something you don't know.
Taraptus!
King's jester?
I should have known when you returned my wand to me.
Failure is made of should-haves. A king will be very interested to know who you really are.
Unfortunately for you, you will be unable to warn the king of my true identity. Rise up, flames. Rise up, fire elemental. Use your rage to engulf my enemies.
All the men are mesmerized by the fire elemental.
Boys, snap out of it! Dwarf, throw your hammer at the sunstone!
Throw your own hammer, Thomas!
Come on, guys!
I've got an idea. The fire elemental is made of fire, and the sunstone is made of ice.
Let's put the two together.
I'll take 2 of the supports out with arrows.
I'll take one out with a magic missile.
I've got a dagger for the other one.
Now you're working together.
I thought they were supposed to be tough.
The spell is broken.
Look, Thief, there are jewels where the elemental was.
We gotta kill these things more often. Oh, just a few more?
Beware! He's using his power to change.
Nice to know you can use something inside your big
Take that flame breath!
We gotta get out of here before he takes another breath.
Through the magic portal.
I dislike such magic.
Anywhere's better than here?
Suit yourself.
You again?
We just came from Taraptus' castle.
Raptus is your jester.
Surely you jest.
How do we stop him?
Still comes! Face me, Taraptus.
What power do you hold over Taraptus?
The power to heal him, to kill the undead, is to heal them.
I owe you my life.
Is it an honor to serve you, King Halvar II? Master of the realm, Lord of the lands, to you I owe my fealty.
I appreciate the fealty. Now, bring me the jewels.
Surrender the jewels to Halvar II, King of the kings and Lord of all the lands.
Okay, I'll surrender the jewels. Just spare me the titles.
Have you all failed to notice the real treasure? The green we have brought to this land.
The difference between us is that you love green and I love gold. Unfortunately, so does the king.
Well, shall we venture to Strathmore Castle?
Yeah, when I'm broke again.
Oh, too bad. For I have no use for the jewels within.
Did you say jewels?
The video you've just seen represents elements from many of the adventures in your Dragon Strike game box. Do not turn the VCR off yet. This is a special
HeroQuest is the best game ever made, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. The best thing about Hero Quest is the miniatures, made in the glory days before Games Workshop had been destroyed from within. There is not an inch of pretentious overcomplexity about them. Any man can tell what they are from 500 yards away, and I know this because I've tested it with a team of Russian ex-Soviet scientists. Because they weren't destroyed by idiotic oversculpting, many a young lad got their start in miniature painting, making their first delicate steps with these fine figures. Never mind that one. I ruined that one. Never mind any of that. The best thing about Hero Quest is the gargoyle. It is the finest miniature in the land. Compared to this is rubbish. This is brilliant. This is an abomination. This is a gargoyle. When a young lad saw this miniature, do you know what he said? He said, "Ooh, I've got to get in on that Hero Quest action." And he was right. The best thing about Hero Quest is this tiny furniture. It is unequaled in all the realm. Anyone who owns this furniture but doesn't use it every chance they get, even in unrelated games, is a fool. I myself have begun replacing all of my furniture with Hero Quest furniture. Even the doors. Oh no, Mormons! The best thing about Hero Quest is the cards. What you see before you is the exact optimum number of cards required to play a heroic adventure game. No more, no less. Why, just the other month I was playing in the local international poker tournament, and when it came time to reveal my hand, bam! Heroic brew! And I took home all the winnings, because after all, who's gonna argue? The best thing about Hero Quest is the board. Look at its beautiful, vibrant colours and its perfect square-ish shape. Oh yes, there was never any doubt as to how much space a game of Hero Quest was going to take up, was there? No, sir. But what do modern games give us? Oh, they're obsessed with modular dungeon tiles, and that's terrible. Half the time, it's a complete disaster, as the dungeon immediately veers off the nearest table edge. The other half the time, it expands into a colossal labyrinth far larger than any reasonable table owned by mortal men. Play it on the floor, you might say. Well, what about people with back, neck, and face problems? Ah, you didn't think of that, did you? The best thing about Hero Quest is the quest book, jam-packed with cracking sword and sorcery scenarios, each more different than the last, and none more different than the dreaded blank map, which is used to make your own deadly scenarios. Of course, the only natural response to this is to put a monster in every square, as is the right and privilege of every Hero Quest owner. The best thing about Hero Quest is the box art. Oh, look at it. Magnificent. Painted by the great fantasy illustrator Les Edwards. And it features grand prominence in this particular art book of the man. And well it should, for it is, without doubt, the best piece of art he ever produced. Now, in the 90s, he did argue against that point, but he was quickly shouted down by key luminaries of the era, such as Prince, Bob Hawke, and Reggie Bennett. So it turns out that this was a cracking reboxing all along. But is a single reboxing enough to cover the grand majesty of Hero Quest? No, sir. No, it is not. And that means it's time for another cracking unboxing of Hero Quest. Let's get started. Well, the best thing about Hero Quest is the inside of the box. Look at these cracking instructions for heroic miniature assembly. What with their clear pictures and words, by God. When I was a lad assembling these miniatures, I would have terrible nightmares about an apocalyptic time when highly convoluted miniatures, much more so than this, would come with instructions without words at all, and terrible, grainy little pictures, and only the loosest interpretation of the word instructions. Oh, it's a good thing that never came to pass. The best thing about Hero Quest is this cracking screen. Not only is it covered with blistering artwork, it is also the finest perch in all the land from which to drop falling rocks on unsuspecting fools in unrelated games. It also prominently features the gargoyle. You can't even tell what this is. This is a gargoyle. The best thing about Hero Quest is the broadsword. Broadsword.
Fire of Wrath.
The best thing about Hero Quest is rolling to move, and you might roll your eyes at this, but it really adds to the drama. Will I trip on a flagstone or leap heroically into battle? Let's find out. Well, the best thing about Hero Quest is ignoring the roll to move rule. It was clearly only included for the junior set, more used to playing snakes and ladders, and not really intended for true masters of the game. The best thing about Hero Quest is the combat dice. No finer set of dice have ever been made in any kingdom. These dice also represent the essential binary which encapsulates all evil beasts in this game. The monsters are either dead or alive. And the symbol of evil looks like a bunny rabbit if you turn it upside down. And that's why you'll hear veterans call them the bunny rabbit dice. Adorable bunny, symbol of immortal evil. The best thing about Hero Quest is the barbarian. Look at the muscularity. You are the barbarian, the greatest warrior of all. And they're not kidding. He throws 3 combat dice on attack by default. Not even the gargoyle can stand up to that. And that's without needing to get the broadsword.
Broadsword.
A barbarian, best character in the game by a long shot, and you should all go play as him immediately. Right, now that the peasantry have gone, the best thing about Hero Quest is the dwarf. Ah, yes, the barbarian, strictly for beginners. He is, in fact, easy mode. True aficionados of Hero Quest and masters of the game choose the dwarf. The best thing about Hero Quest is the expansions, which you should immediately discard, because the only true way to expand Hero Quest is with more Hero Quest. It's the only way you can experience such cracking custom scenarios as the dreaded Fortress O' Peril and Gravity Land. And that's why Hero Quest is so great.
Hero. Combat. Are you winning means mastering rules of combat. Hero Quest. Deep inside another dimension, face battling barbarians and evil magic on a quest for adventure in a maze of monsters. This is Hero Quest, the fantasy adventure game where winning means mastering the arts of combat.
I'll use my broadsword.
The arts of combat.
I'll use my
combat.
I'll use my broadsword.
And
A broadsword.
And magic.
Fire of wrath.
Once you get into it, you'll never be the same. Hero Quest. Now with 2 new adventure packs, the legend grows.
What's a gamer to do when you don't have a lot of time but you want to enjoy some fantasy-based tabletop adventure gaming? I mean, jump right in the pit, kick down some doors, hack up some skeletons. When you and your friends just want to skip all the pleasantries and throw some dice without all the trappings of character sheets and alignment and, well, role-playing? Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Hero Quest. Hero Quest is a fantasy adventure board game created in 1989 by Milton Bradley and Games Workshop. It's the pure hack-and-slash, die-rolling, manic adventure of Dungeons & Dragons without having to do any homework. Hero Quest is D&D if you speed the whole thing up by limiting the action to fighting and looking for fights. There is far less of a chance of the game going off course, no need to create modules or freestyle, no need to reference an encyclopedic tome to find out if chewing bubblegum is considered a free action while kicking ass. Dungeons & Dragons was created in the 1970s by Gary Gygax, Dave Arness, and TSR. If you want that whole story, check out our video, The Tragedies and Triumphs in the History of Dungeons & Dragons. The short version is that by 1989, Dungeons & Dragons had been around long enough, it was popular enough, that it was time to update some of the rules. TSR released a new 2nd edition of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. It condensed and abbreviated some parts, expanded other parts. It tried to step away from some of the controversy related to the inclusion of demons and devils and character classes that were straight up evil aligned. The goal was to expand the audience by appealing to a younger demographic. Still teens, yes, but more on the 13 end of the spectrum. Simplification was supposed to be part of the plan. Appealing to a younger audience and capitalizing on the popularity of D&D wasn't exclusive to TSR. Milton Bradley, longtime manufacturer of board games like Chutes and Ladders, Candyland, Life, Twister, The Dark Tower, and also, as of 1984, a division of Hasbro, wanted to engage that younger fantasy gaming audience that D&D did as well. Meanwhile, a company based in London, England called Games Workshop had been a part of the gaming scene since the 1970s, first as a creator of games, second as a publisher of a gaming magazine called White Dwarf, third as a physical store location to buy games and magazines. Games Workshop began publishing White Dwarf in the late 70s, covering some of the most popular games of the era like Dungeons & Dragons, RuneQuest, and Traveller. Covering them went as far as including unique adventures for those games exclusive to the magazine. White Dwarf also featured how-tos for painting miniatures and creating scene elements for those miniature-based tabletop adventure campaigns. This was not just a service to their readers, but also a way to promote their own products. Because in 1979, Games Workshop helped found Citadel Miniatures, one of the oldest and most popular makers of gaming miniatures. In 1983, they published the first edition of their Warhammer franchise. By 1989, Games Workshop knew everything Milton Bradley wanted to know about creating a fantasy adventure game that could compete in a highly competitive market. Or rather, a man named Stephen Baker, who worked at Games Workshop, knew everything he needed to know. From 1982 to 1984, he worked part-time and was paid in product. In 1984, he became a store manager. In 1986, Milton Bradley's UK office was looking for testers and called the shop. Stephen became a tester on games for Milton Bradley and then took all of that knowledge he had gained and began pitching his own ideas for how all of those game elements of role-playing games could be condensed for the mass market for kids in the 9 to 11-year-old range. That game was Hero Quest, a self-contained group adventure kit in a box for 2 to 5 players. Everything you needed to get started was in that box. Everything you ever needed to continue playing was in that box. Attack dice, defense dice, gridded game board that functioned as the base of every map, game cards and tiles, furniture, doorways, walls, plastic miniature character figurines, the quest book that contained the details of all the ready-made adventures, and a privacy screen for the player tasked with managing the game as the master of dungeons. Because one player serves as the de facto game master, an evil wizard named Zargon in the US and Canada, Morcar everywhere else. Why the difference? I don't know. Why do they eat hot dogs with a fork and knife and we eat them with our hands? Why do they have to put on driving shoes whenever they pilot a car? Why are all of their mirrors monochromatic and ours are full color? Why do they high five with both hands at once? Why do all of their chairs have 5 legs? Nobody knows. This player, the Game Master, controls all of the overarching elements of the game, including introduction and advancement of the story, monster management, and placement of architectural elements as they are encountered by the other players. The other players, 4 ideally, choose from the 4 pre-made archetypal characters, Barbarian, Elf, Wizard, and Dwarf, each one designed to complement the group, each with their own strengths, compensating for the other's weaknesses.
Hero Quest. Deep inside another dimension, face battling barbarians and evil magic on a quest for adventure in a maze of monsters. This is Hero Quest, the fantasy adventure game where winning means mastering the arts of combat
I'll use my broadsword.
and magic.
Fire of Wrath.
Once you get into it, you'll never be the same. Hero Quest. Now with 2 new adventure packs, the legend grows.
Each adventure begins with some exposition to kick things off, to give the players a reason to wander through the treacherous environment, the labyrinth of dangers, the gauntlet of creatures, traps, and evil wizards. And that's it. Get in, throw dice, find treasure, accomplish the mission before dying, switch characters, change game masters, have fun storming the castle. Or escaping a dungeon, assassination plot, retrieve an artifact, prison break, hired hit, bank heist, missing person. All your favorite narrative framing mechanisms are here, and not for nothing, but every single quest can be a buddy story, a rom-com, or a coming-of-age piece. You decide. Or don't, because it's not role-playing. You don't have to go any further than rolling the dice. Don't use a character voice. Don't get angry and attack your teammates. No drama necessary beyond life and death. But if you like role-playing, then this isn't not necessarily the place to get some. You can introduce those elements if you want to. You can carry over weapons or treasure acquired in quests to future quests if you want to. You can give your characters a backstory, a motivation, a funny hat. The good times end when the players either accomplish the mission, that's a win for the players, or all the players are dead. That's a win for Zargon. Or Morcar, depending on how you eat your hot dogs. Hero Quest isn't just a game, it's a game system. That means that all the elements are there to play it as is right out of the box, or expand it, enhance it, and customize it. Milton Bradley knew that players would likely tire of the 14 quests included with the initial release. 2 pages in the quest book are dedicated to giving players the tools they need to create their own quests. 1 page, a blank grid map of the game board. Another page, all of the icons representing the various monsters, traps, treasures, and accoutrements that might be needed for a quest. The instructions suggest photocopying these pages, marking the map accordingly, writing an intro paragraph, and then get to fighting. That page also teased that Milton Bradley would be releasing official expansion modules and additional quests in the near future, which they did. Kicking it off with Keller's Keep in 1989, expansions brought not only new quests, but also new character types, treasure, environmental elements, traps, cards, and new characters and new monsters, which meant new character and monster figures as well. The adventures continued in Return of the Witch Lord, Against the Ogre Horde, and a full adventure design kit in 1990, Wizards of Morcar and the Dark Company in 1991, Frozen Horror and the Mage of the Mirror in 1992, and like Dungeons & Dragons before it, Hero Quest couldn't help but bring out a more advanced version of the game. Advanced Hero Quest came with new miniatures, more complex rules for combat including ranged attacks, modular game board pieces, critical hits and fumbles, a random dungeon generation system, and, should you find yourself in the moment, the rules for how to play the game alone. Advanced Hero Quest also introduced compatibility with the Warhammer World of Miniature tabletop wargaming system, because in the early 90s, Games Workshop was publishing games all over the place that centered around miniature gaming, and nearly all of them took place, or could take place, in the Games Workshop shared universe of Warhammer, their signature simulated fantasy army combat game system. Hero Quest, Advanced Hero Quest, Blood Bowl, Crunch, Mighty Warriors, Man of War, Battle Masters, Space Crusade. Their magazine, White Dwarf, supplemented all of those games and advertised their new products coming soon to be used with those games. As a brand, Hero Quest was supported by 3 novels and in 1991, a PC game called Hero Quest. A Nintendo port was in the works but never made it to the shelves. A second PC game, HeroQuest II Legacy of Sorasil, came home in 1994. Milton Bradley and Games Workshop accomplished what they set out to accomplish. They created a gaming system with some life in it that, in 1992, was recognized with an Origins Award by the Academy of Venture Gaming Arts and Design for Best Graphic Presentation of a Board Game of 1991. HeroQuest quickly morphed into both HeroQuest and Advanced HeroQuest. In 1995, it was joined by Warhammer Quest, a less subtle version of the game that less subtly incorporated the gameplay into the world of Warhammer. HeroQuest and Advanced HeroQuest ceased publication in 1997. Warhammer Quest expired in 1998. Players would have to find other outlets for their fantasy adventures, either within the world of Warhammer, back in the dungeons with dragons, or in packs of Magic the Gathering. But that wasn't the end of the story for HeroQuest, because the best thing about HeroQuest is the fans. Today, HeroQuest is still buoyed by an active, engaged, and enthusiastic fan base, not quite the scale of Dungeons & Dragons. If D&D is here, HeroQuest is here. And then if you blow this up, then you can see that the HeroQuest fan base is right here. Those fans have kept the game alive and continue to create their own game boards, quests, and characters. One fan wrote a free-to-download game simulator that allows you to download every official quest ever created and run games by yourself if you want to play alone. But the best thing about HeroQuest isn't the game at all. It's a video called Why HeroQuest is So Great by Bardic Broadcasts.
The best thing about HeroQuest is the barbarian. Look at the muscularity. The best thing about HeroQuest is the broadsword.
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 Fire of Wrath.
This is an abomination. This is a gargoyle. Oh no, Mormons!
You can purchase entire sets of repro 3D printed playing pieces from the original HeroQuest or newly designed pieces, or you can save up your money and hit the secondary market to purchase a new or used sample of the original game itself. HeroQuest incorporated the core elements and design of other successful games and efficiently repackaged them for a new audience. It was an entry point for a generation of players that fell in love with tabletop gaming before online video game technology, and Magic the Gathering completely altered the landscape of gaming altogether. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy or become a channel member at youtube.com/toygalaxytv/join. Both Patreon and YouTube channel membership have the same exclusive content, so choose your own adventure. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below if you've ever played HeroQuest or if you were all D&D. I used to play this game called Notebook Adventure Fights. Basically just me, a spiral-bound notebook, and a handful of miniatures. Gotta spend at least 120 hours creating intricate backgrounds for the characters, origins, stats, interpersonal relationships, and then you just roll dice until there's like a lone survivor. Copyright 1989, Dan Larson Enterprises. Don't steal my ideas.
I won't. Okay.
What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out Return to Nangrim. This is like one of those games that, like, occasionally a game will come across my desk, and my first thought is, you're pandering to me, aren't you? Like, this is one of those games that feels very, very targeted. This is a first-person dwarvish RPG survival-infused game where you are a dwarf returning to a Moria-like location and trying to survive in it despite all of the threats and challenges and travails and everything else. So anyways, I feel like I am the target audience for that. Like, if somebody told me that they made Subnautica, but you're a dwarf in like an endless diggable mine on the ruins of like an old dwarvish society, I would basically pass out from excitement. Like, that would be the game that I would want to play, and this game seems like it's trying to get pretty close to that. The demo is available on the Gamescom Festival on Steam up until the 27th. I don't know exactly when this video is going to go live, so it may be down by the time this actually goes up, but you can check it out at the link down below. You'll find that alongside my Discord, my Twitch stream, my Twitter, all that kind of stuff, just in case you want to hug in person. But let's go ahead and start it on off. We're going to spend about 20-25 minutes with the game and see if it's worth your attention. It's worth noting that they've plastered this all over with like the fact that this is not like a public release, really. This is kind of just like a proof of concept. So if you see anything rough, just kind of take it in stride.
They came as a whisper, words so quietly wrapped that the truth may not hear, until that whisper became a growl, impossible to ignore, impossible to outvoice. We were not prepared. That which came upon us lied far beyond our imagination. Our plans, strategies, defense, in vain. The accomplishment of generations, the history of families, their joy, their sorrow, shattered in the blink of an eye. We stood strong, axes and hammers drawn. Our army, the guardians with their best beards, every beard. But the great gates fell, and what followed after soon sealed our fate. In the depths of the mountains, a stone beard uses a Manali stone's glow to separate night from day, darkness from light. Our glow has not yet gone out, and we will not make room for the darkness. In the midst of the chaos, I hid away our most precious treasure, and in this hour that I know my time has come, I will pass this world knowing that victory is ours, if not today, certainly in a tomorrow that will soon come. By the names of the fallen kings, may Tal'Doran give us his strength.
What happened?
Well, here we are, at the beginning of our dwarven adventure. There's things. Look, there's a thing right here. What is that?
I should look out for a shelter.
Let's see her, way out of the cold.
Some equipment with me.
I woke up with an unbearable headache. Where am I? What am I doing here? Most importantly, who am I? I'm shaking and it's getting darker and I should look for shelter. Okay.
I need something to store this in.
Oh, I can't pick it up right now. Okay. Well, it said that we might have equipment around somewhere, so let's keep an eye out for it. I don't see anything that's immediately lootable. Looks like there's like some kind of mushroom or something over here. There's another one back there. I wonder what those are for. Are they interactable? Yeah, they are.
Can't
Okay.
go over that bridge without repairing it first.
Okay, well, the planks are right there, but I can't pick anything up right now because I don't have anything to store my stuff in. So I guess we'll take a look. Hey, there's a backpack right there. All right.
Backpack. I'll need this for sure.
Okay. So now we can actually, like, pick stuff up, right? Hey, cool.
Glowing shroom.
Is a red glowing shroom useful? What does it do? I can go to my inventory and we can look at our resources. Is it under miscellaneous? No. It's under items. What does it do? Looks like we can inspect it. I think the menus are very, very well done. I like the look of this right here. This has a very clean layout, and it also kind of corresponds with the aesthetic of the game that they're trying to do. It looks like we're going to have a paper doll at some point where we can equip armor and stuff like that as well, but it's a work in progress. What is that, a stick, a torch?
I've got the handle of an axe.
Oh, it's the handle of an axe.
If means me well, there might be a chance I'll find the corresponding head.
Okay. Well, we've got an axe haft right now, so that's good. Or an axe hold. Hey, what is that? Part of a letter. A northern ice mint. Okay. Doesn't look like we can go back over this way. What's up with the part of the letter? Maybe I have to get the whole thing. I bet you that's what it is. It looks like it says, "Dear someone, thank you very much for your something," but it's hard to read. I assume that they'll give us like the full text once we find like the other piece of it. If we find the other piece of it, it seems like there's definitely some room here. Luckily, everything that's lootable seems to have kind of a glow to it, so that'll make it a little bit easier to identify. I don't know if the mushrooms are going to be useful, but I'm going to pick them up just in case we do some kind of potion crafting or something later on.
That bridge without repairing
I know, I'm working on it. God, grumpy old dwarf, give me a second. Was the letter over here maybe somewhere, like stapled to the side of a tree and I just missed it? No, doesn't look like it.
Firmly barricaded.
Okay. Maybe once we have the axe, we can chop our way in there, possibly. Or maybe we can remove the boards with, like, a tool. Oh, cool. There's just, like, lumber laying there. All right.
The way leads over that bridge, but it's so desolate. It's even missing some planks. Fair enough.
There we go. All right. Good stuff. Ooh, I like the creaking of the lantern over here. I just noticed that little atmospheric effect. It's a bummer that we can't take the lantern with us, but it does seem to be pretty firmly ringed on there, unfortunately. So I guess we'll just leave that behind for now. Cross the bridge. I get the feeling we're headed towards like a Moria-type situation right now. It looks like if I left-click, I punch with my left hand. Right-clicking punches with my right hand. Okay, so there's a correspondence there. Left hand and right hand are controlled by left-click and right-click. I'm looking for that other half of the letter because I'd like to see what it says, but oof, that glow right there. Good Lord, the bloom
Those
effect.
barricades block the way.
I'm blind. Okay. So oh, hey.
The luck of a dwarf.
All right, so we got the head of our axe right there. So we can go back to our items, and it looks like we have a combine option right here.
Will do for now.
Very nice. I mean, it looks like a goblin axe or something. It doesn't really look like a dwarvish axe. I'll put it in my right-handed. Since I'm right-handed, I'm gonna put it in my right hand because that makes sense to me. Okay. Oh, cool. We leave little slashes on stuff when we hit it. Not like a ton of weight to the swing. Like, it doesn't really shift your character or anything else like that. But maybe it'll be different once we have a shield or something. Oh, there's scaffolds that go all the way up. All right, well, I bet we can get on into this over here. Since, like, it wouldn't let us advance over there because of the barricade, I bet we can break this one, too.
Here comes Taldia. Here we go.
Okay. Free mushroom, just in case you're into that sort of thing. Some busted lumber. God only knows what that'll be useful for. Maybe starting a fire or something. It must be important because they squirreled it away in this little thing that... Are there physics on the sign? No, you can't smack the sign and make it swing. That's what I was looking for, is can I hit the sign and make it go... and go back and forth. It's those little details that I think add really severely to, like, the Can I chop down a tree? Doesn't look like I can chop down a tree. But it's those little details, as I was saying, that I think really add to the immersive nature of a game. All right, well, I wandered around for a minute, and I don't seem to see the other half of this letter. I assume that since half of it was on the tree, the rest of it would be free-floating around here somewhere. But I don't see it. I am curious about what it says, though. This seems like the kind of game that's really aiming for being immersive, and I think that, like, the supporting documents to figure out, like, what's going on here would actually be kind of helpful. But I guess I don't have the acumen nor the eye to see it. But I figure it's got to be around here somewhere. Oh, my God, that glow effect. Foof! That's a little bright for me.
Here comes town.
All right. Well, there's a big door over here. I'm sure there's nothing terrifying behind the big giant door.
Finally.
It looks like there's a mushroom there.
Let's see what's behind that door.
I guess if you want to. I got a bad feeling about this.
A citadel. I should take a look around.
Okay. I found shelter in something that looks like a citadel. Maybe I can find some clue as to what this place is, or maybe I'll find someone else alive. All right. A few more mushrooms.
If I should have a bite. But then again, I am hungry.
Are we hungry right now? Here, Bagon, could you prioritize my order? Please do it yourself. It's the second time that Dandaron has bound the book, and again, the pages fell out flying throughout the Citadel. I know you're not a Giskribon, but also a teacher, and that you believe that something will come out of stone, but I'm not going to tolerate a book that's falling apart. There are also still
You are not welcome in my court, yet here you are. Friend or foe, we will see. Summon the Elector Counts.
Hey, this is pretty fun. Is this the greatest Warhammer Fantasy game ever made? Yeah, at least I think so. Does it have problems and things that put people off? Of course it does. This is a huge game, so I'll be talking about it a while today. I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm not going to get too deep into hyperbalancing. One, because it would take forever, and two, I'm just not attuned to the balance that well. So if you want to know, like, what unit needs +2 melee attack, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, there are other channels that do that, and they do a great job at it. I'm just not that smart, so when it comes to that, I'm going to cover things that stick out the most to me. So with that, some of you may be wondering, how come I'm not talking about the first game? Why am I starting at 2? Well, if you own both games, their campaign maps get combined into one mega campaign called Mortal Empires in the second game. You can play as the old factions with updates, DLC carries over, it's all very nice. I view Warhammer 2 as an excellent expansion pack. 2 does have its own standalone campaign, and we'll get to that, so I am going to talk about the first game, in 2. Rather than try to brutally section things out like I usually do, this time I'm just going to go through the game faction by faction and point out stuff as I come along to it. Actually, I probably should do some kind of overview first. Total War Warhammer 2. Also known as Total Warhammer 2. Calling it this will irritate brand managers, but save my brain in the long run. The Total War franchise is well established. It's been going 20 years now with no signs of stopping. There have been a lot of great games with hiccups here and there. The AI can be silly and easily exploitable, some things don't work how they should, the entire release of Rome 2, just all of it. Still, overall a pretty good streak. Most of the games have long-running communities, including modding. The most powerful enhancement of them, the medieval Total War 2 community, made a mod for Warhammer Fantasy. Call of Warhammer is still updated today. Warhammer Fantasy and Total War were a perfect match. So what is Warhammer Fantasy? Is it like 40k? Well, most people are miserable and there are orcs, so that's about it really. Yeah, there are a few other parallels, but it's a very different setting. Well, 40k is an enormous, horrific blob of a sci-fi universe. Fantasy isn't. It's a single not-Earth planet, with a donut, which makes everything much more digestible. The factions are based off real cultures, but ultimately fantastical and fictional. You have Egyptians, but they're undead. You have Aztecs, but they're lizards. You have the French, but they're very honorable. There are still some outliers to this rule. The donut-dwelling High Elves are based off fictional Atlantean lore. At least I hope it's fictional. Dark Elves live in the Northwestern Hemisphere. They have a history of slavery, and dominate their neighbors through giant floating fortresses, so pretty out there stuff. The current Mortal Empires map is about 2/3 of the Warhammer world. You're free to sail the globe, find strange new cultures, then obliterate them for being awful. There are 2 layers to this game. The first is the overworld campaign map, which plays very similarly to other 4X titles. You recruit units, build up your cities, research technology, and do other things that might be specific to each faction. Or even sub-faction. Yeah, how you play can change dramatically based on the leader you pick. Many of these are added for free or just massively tweaked, but there are a lot of DLC ones as well. And of course, all the leaders and characters have massive RPG skill trees and special items and followers and quests and whew, I am getting ahead of myself. So on its own, the campaign map is a very intricate 4X game. Battles even have an auto-resolve function, so technically you could beat a campaign without ever touching the RTS part. I don't know why you would do that, but you can. Do you really want to miss the Gator death roll? You miss out when you just hit auto-resolve. Anyway, the battles are the real heart of the game. If you're used to more traditional RTS games, the Total War franchise is very different. Rather than only controlling individual units or small squads, you control entire regiments. There are still individual units and sometimes small squads, but for the most part you're moving big blobs of people. At least sometimes people, if you want to get technical. That may sound difficult, but it's actually pretty simple. A unit formation controls individually, so really those more traditional RTS games can be a lot harder to control. Instead of having to micro bunch of cavalry units, you can just click their unit and move them all at once. There are many handy ways to command your army, but you may have to dig into the controls to find some more useful ones. There are many factors to take into account when positioning troops. Moving archers behind enemies stuck in combat means you can fire right into the back of them. I mean, that's obvious. But if you're firing from the front and they have shields, they can deflect your shots. And most archers don't want to be caught in melee. Cavalry is really good at smashing through enemy formations. They might even go flying Team Rocket style. However, some units may have spears or other factors which makes charging into them from the front a bad idea. How thick you make their formation could also mean less of a chance of breaking through. So you can try going around them, or maybe soften them up with artillery or magic or archers. This is just one example. The battlefield itself has a lot to consider. Hills can block units with line of sight, they make units moving up them tire out and slower, and they help ranged weapons out. Because sure, arrows can fire in arcs, but guns can't. So your guns can die without firing, or you can get the high ground. Once again, this is just one example. Some terrain can slow your army, the woods can hide your army, the woods can be your army, you get the idea, I'm not going to go through all of it. There are many fields of battle and many tactics to consider. Where the fight is based on where armies meet in the campaign map. And that's it. There's much more, those are just the essentials to know going forward. Now before I talk about the factions, I want to talk about the presentation in general. It's incredible. The battles are a sight to behold, but I want to start with the campaign map. A big advantage Total Warhammer has in this department over other 4X games is that the map is handcrafted. Even though I've spent hundreds of hours staring at it, there are still new things I noticed on the campaign map. There's such richness and variety in all the locations. It honestly blows my mind that the campaign map is this detailed, since they could have gotten away with making it more abstract. And this is all being done on a gigantic scale, for 2 different campaign maps. This is a genre that's so mechanics focused that it's usually seen as okay not to go this hard on the visuals, but they did. Boy did they. It might seem strange to fixate on, it's not Crisis or anything. It's just crazy for this kind of game. This is the top tier right now. Then you have the actual battle maps. I mean, are you kidding me? This is insanity. The sheer scale and level of detail for an RTS map is just unbelievable. You can strain your eyes looking at the backgrounds and still be picking up all kinds of things. This is a Warhammer title and the stupidly big scale is still here. Once again, they probably could have gotten away with less. Okay, example, say you look at like a city map. You can put yourself to on-foot scale and just take a look around. Not only are large objects high quality, but they extended this to the smallest of scale. For God's sake, the city has a hole in it and you can like look down and see there's more buildings down there and it keeps extending. It's not even playable, it's just there. I'm not complaining, this is amazing, but is everyone there okay? Is everyone sleeping enough? I hope so, but I don't think so. This is wonderful. So to no surprise, of course the units look incredible too. I'd just be repeating a lot of what I just said, so I'm going to save some of these for faction by faction. For now, I'll just say I've played some recent FPS and action games that had characters that didn't look this good. I do want to give attention to the animation. If you missed the Dawn of War synchronized kills, you're right at home. Some of these animations are made by the developers on their own time. Paying them to make more would be good, the more the better. All that said, I do see some issues. A lot of visual improvements are made between the games. There's new lighting and fog effects, the UI is a lot better, but there is one big step down the UI department. Warhammer 1 has an elegant faction selector. It all fits on one screen. Pick your faction, and then pick your leader. It's simple and effective, which makes me wonder why Warhammer 2 has this, quasi-fighting game screen. It's not a huge deal, and reworking something like this actually takes a lot longer than most people would think, but I hope they fix it up for Game 3. I have no real issues with the art direction of the game, so if you're hoping I'll be mad that a model doesn't look just like the tabletop or something, well, you won't get that here, but that's what Total War Center is for. My big issues are technical ones. The new lighting is good, but it came with some problems. Warhammer 2 has an option for screen space ambient occlusion. Put simply, ambient occlusion determines which objects block light and make shadow. This generally makes lighting in a game look more realistic, and you have a nicer image. Little shadows here and there add a lot of depth. This technique works on most of the maps, but not all of them. For whatever reason, a lot of desert and snow maps will give units a strange shimmer around them, sometimes white and sometimes black. Not all the maps are like this, only some, but when it happens, it's very noticeable. Which leads into the other issue. The new world of Warhammer 2 is a bright and sunny place, and the old world of Warhammer 1 was very grey. The new world lighting looks great in the new maps and new characters, but something happened to some of the old ones. Here's Setcher from Warhammer 2. He's looking good. Here's the best Von Karstein vampire in the first game. Also a handsome man. Now let's put him in Warhammer 2 and oh, shit. The lighting is horrible on him and it looks like his texture was whacked down too. If this is a bug, it's a pretty bad one. It's not just Vlad. There's a bunch of Warhammer 1 characters this happened to. I've seen other people complain about the lighting with others saying it's just different, but I don't think so. Something is wrong here. The general went from Marshal the Men to Marshal my methamphetamines. A lot of maps have the same issue. Here's Warhammer 2, and here's back in Warhammer 1. You take the old moody lighting and put it through the new system and now it looks washed out and awful. Let's look at a quest battle Vlad has in Game 1. It's quite clearly night, dark and atmospheric. A warped stone meteor glistens in the valley. Now let's look at the exact same map in Warhammer 2. It's early morning, I think, or maybe evening? Oh man, what happened? It is quite literally a night and day difference. Some things are technically better, but it looks a lot worse. I can only guess that something went wrong in the conversion between Game 1 and Game 2 stuff. Maybe there wasn't enough time to properly pass all the maps off. It's not that 2's engine is incapable of moody lighting. For example, you have some underground maps that look exceptional. Then you play one that looks broken with the effects in the wrong layers. Let's go back to the Chaos map. Warhammer 1, Warhammer 1 converted into 2, brand new Warhammer 2 map. Yeah, I think 2 can do atmosphere just fine. There are maps and characters that need help, it's simple as that. My worry is that Game 3 will get another new lighting system and then everyone gets to go through it a second time. So I do hope it gets fixed eventually, before... Okay, let's talk about sound. Visuals rightly get a lot of praise, but this is some exceptional sound work too. There are a lot of layers of soldiers yelling, weapons striking each other, weapons bouncing off armor, and of course all the effort that goes into bringing strange creatures to life. Though once again like Dawn of War, the voice acting and direction is perfect for a Warhammer game.
Orcs, come before me. Be careful what you say, beast, or my strikes my... will have your tongue.
Any who attempt to outkill me will pay. Get them! Get them now!
My lords von Karstein, how may thy humble lich serve you this night?
Oh, I have been robbed! My chance to perform for the Phoenix King stolen! But I will have my audience. My star is in the ascendant, and the world shall hear me sing again.
Yeah, it's very over the top, but a lot of fun. The huge variety of characters and units gives you a really solid variety throughout the whole game. game. Out of everything, I think I find the music to be one of the more weaker aspects. It's not bad, and it gets a lot better in Warhammer 2, but there are some missed opportunities. Let's listen to some Warhammer 2 campaign music.
Malekith, King of Nagaroth. Citra does not serve. Run, fools!
The soundtrack has rat Mongolian throat singing, like how could I be complaining? Well, 2 has much more of a variety. Warhammer 1 factions can share a lot of music, and it gets really repetitive. The Dwarf faction shares all their music with the Empire except for a single pre-battle theme. What really makes it stick out to me is that there was music made for the trailers that isn't in the game. Let's look at some skirmish music.
Ring of steel! Shields up! Form a ring of steel! Crossbowmen!
It's good, but every faction uses it like the vampires here. Now let's look at vampire trailer exclusive music. We don't get that in-game? Oh man, is there a way to still license it for the game? Okay, maybe there is just a little dramatic. How about greenskins?
Of the slaughtering!
It sounds very similar to the other music. Maybe their trailer music sounds similar. Yeah, Warhammer 1 has a lot of promotional faction music that just isn't in the game. It makes the lack of variety sting more knowing that there's more out there and it's really good. You might think Warhammer 2 is free of this due to all the improvements, but it does have one painful example. Music for a pirate faction. Now what if I told you they have a shanty? This is goddamn heartbreaking. It makes sense for campaign music not to be overly bombastic. I'm glad Warhammer 2 pushed the music further and added a variety of instruments like pan flutes, but it still feels like some people somewhere are being held back. Maybe the music can't be too distracting from the battle sounds, or the dynamic music wouldn't work well with it. Whatever the case, the current music complements the gameplay well, but if someone said to drum out a battle theme or something, I don't know if I could. At the same time, I could easily recount tracks from a game like Rome Total War. Dun da da dun da 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 dun da da dun da da dun. So overall, a really strong presentation, but there's room for improvement. Okay, time to talk about factions, starting with the Empire.
Die, orcs!
The Empire is the main human faction in the setting. It's also the most familiar for those who have played the historical Total War games. A lot of humans in fantasy settings will be vaguely British medieval. The Empire isn't that, in fact it's well past the Middle Ages at this point. They're roughly around an early Renaissance period. They've been there so long that they have tanks now. Not many tanks though, because the Empire is a little inefficient, because unfortunately they're based off the collection of Tollbooth castles called the Holy Roman Empire. Essentially a kingdom of cats that needed herding all the time. And wow, it is not better here at all. The emperor of them all is Karl Franz. Master Warrior, Master Politician, and General Humanitarian. They're a good faction for new players and anyone really. Their power comes from how versatile their playstyle can be. Do you like guns and artillery? Check. Maybe you're more of a cavalry person. Well, they have many knights and outriders and plenty of flavors, including gluten-free options if you don't like horses. They have 8 different kinds of magic to play around with. To access magic, you need to recruit special heroes and lords out of spellcasting. Magic can be absurdly effective and turn a surefire loss into a victory. It's only limited by a magic power pool you get in the beginning of a battle, though there are ways to increase that. The Empire has 7 different wizards to recruit, including a legendary lord who controls metal. Don't you worry, we'll get to him. If you like traditional sword and board with archers, there's plenty of that too. The Empire has something for everybody in battle. By using them, you can find a playstyle you really like, and then align with a faction that specializes in that. Or just enjoy all the varied builds you can make with an Imperial army. Now, being a bunch of human beings, they're all not ready to go fight to the death. As you may have seen before, they'll run away if they take too much damage or if they get too afraid of the enemy. You can assume that for every faction unless I say otherwise. Mortal creatures enjoy living, I think. So maintaining unit cohesion, keeping flanks secure, and keeping your army somewhat alive is good for them not leaving the field. Something terrible happening in a battle can lead to a mass rout. You can lose even if you still outnumber and outpower the enemy. A commanding lord dying could completely crush the morale of their army. Some factions are much more sensitive to this than others, but the Empire is in a danger zone. Their lords and heroes are good, but they're not the tankiest things on the planet. They could be in trouble if left alone. Now, the faction-leading legendary lords are usually going to be okay, but you should still want to keep an eye on them. You can benefit from having heroes in your army so that even if the lord dies, they can keep morale up. Now, on the campaign map, you're not just managing your own state, but the greater empire itself. Squabbling and all, you need to be corralling them. Heroes can help here too, since they don't have to be put into an army. Instead, they can act as an agent on the campaign map. They can find treasure, help boost the local economy and stability, scout around, or make sure other agents have an accident. There's all kinds of other things heroes can do, but you get the idea. It's important to note that lords and heroes are different. A lord leads an army, that's it. He can't target people for campaign actions like a hero can. Both characters gain XP through actions and can unlock skills that make them more effective. Heroes can make themselves more powerful in battle, or more powerful doing campaign map actions. Lords can buff up just about everything else, including the entire faction. They can also become more personally powerful in combat. Heroes can act as agents, but lords are always lords in the battlefield. Got it. I know I've digressed a bit, I just don't want anyone getting too lost at this point. The Empire plays like most 4X games. You keep your territories happy, or at least in line, and you create new buildings to unlock new troops. Along the way, you research new technology. These are more buffs to the faction rather than gating off units. A technology will do something like increase unit speed, or give stronger armor to your knights. There's nothing like a cannon locked off by a technology. You need to wait for city populations to grow, spend money to level them up, and then spend money to build new buildings. Because cities have limited building slots, if you want new units and more money, you need to take more of them. Sometimes in siege battles. No, not yet. So as the Emperor, you need to deal with internal squabbling. These are more buffs to the faction rather than gating off units. A technology will do something like increase unit speed, or give stronger armor to your knights. There's nothing like a cannon locked off by a technology. You need to wait for city populations to grow, spend money to level them up, and then spend money to build new buildings. Because cities have limited building slots, if you want new units and more money, you need to take more of them. Sometimes in siege battles. No, not yet. So as the Emperor, you need to deal with internal squabbles like rebels. The neighboring states have their own issues. As the Emperor, you might need to help them out with money or sending armies. You may have to pick a side to support when they start squabbling with each other. Sometimes the Merchants Guild is paying people off illegally. You can't have that. By being a good leader, you earn a special prestige resource, which balances out with your imperial authority. Without enough prestige, you can't stop disasters like a civil war. The less the counts respect you, the more likely this is to happen. Which means wasting manpower fighting a civil war instead of actual monsters trying to eat you. So you need to be a shrewd emperor and somehow keep everybody together. By using prestige to preemptively improve relations, disasters might not happen at all. Earning enough trust can eventually mean controlling their lands directly through confederacy. Then you can assign one of your good boys to office and get all kinds of cool rewards like bonuses, special hero items, and best of all, regional units based on the territory you now own. It's pretty neat going from uniformity to a colorful, united empire army. Very uplifting. Now let's talk about the DLC. When I've talked to people who are interested in Total Warhammer but haven't bought it, usually they say, yeah, I want to get into it, but there's so much DLC across 2 separate games. This is understandable. Nobody likes being nickeled and dimed. I do think there is some misconception in this case. I guess the simplest way I can put it is, this isn't a Paradox game. I really enjoyed the game Stellaris, but if you don't buy every piece of DLC, it can feel like you're falling behind. Even the themed expansion like, oh, this is for Federation players, usually has a lot of other stuff packed into it that benefits any kind of player. Between this and Crusader Kings and the Civ series and many other games, I think this is what people expect. Total Warhammer DLC is a la carte. It'll add new factions, sub-factions, and units. I've never seen them paywall off a big quality of life improvement or feature, except one which I'll get to, so please don't type fast at me. If you don't like the sound of wood elves, you don't have to buy their DLC. They're still in the game for everyone, so at least you have a new enemy to fight. If you tried something like Dark Elves and didn't like them, well, you don't have to buy their unit packs. Once again, you'll still have new enemies to fight now. The Empire is a good example of how things have gotten better. They have both the very first DLC for the game, the Grim and the Grave, and also one of the newest, the Hunter and the Beast. So let's see what the first one added for the Empire. There are 3 new units, 2 militia types, and 1 anti-undead knight. There's a new type of lord, some reskinned regiment of renown units, and a new legendary lord. He starts in the same spot as Franz, it's mostly the same. The other half of the DLC adds stuff to the vampire count, so I'll hold off on that. I mean, it's okay if you like Empire. So let's look at the new DLC. You have a completely separate campaign starting across the world. You have a modified tech tree, and even your buildings are restricted because you're a colonial expedition. You get advanced units through an imperial supply system. More military success means more supplies, but also angrier natives. And supplies can also depend on who you're getting favor from back home. You quest for 4 different heroes to join the hunt, and they'll get different stats depending on story choices you make. And then you get your 3 new units. 2 new kinds of militia archers, and terrible gun wagons. Both these DLCs were the same price. But here's what the patch that came with the Hunter and the Beast added for free. You got the entire prestige his own faction the south of the Empire, which means balancing that out and bringing the voice actor back in to do diplomacy lines.
Friendship is more valuable than gold, or so they tell me.
Let me tell you about Gelt. He doesn't look like an Eye Divine Cybermancy character for no reason. He's a wizard of metal who can turn anything into gold and he fucking loves it. You're rich and magic, who wouldn't want to be Gelt?
Supreme!
That patch added free stuff for other factions as well. Seems pretty substantial for free. If you really want to compare, boot up Total Warhammer 1. You can put a lord in an office for a bonus, and that's it. Your neighbors are neighbors, no politicking. It was that big of a free overhaul. Owning the first game is the price to entry, but you can see why I'm not ranting about the DLC. Of course, if you want to see and play as every little thing, then yeah, you're screwed. I guess you could be thankful you're not paying for tabletop? I don't know, you know your price points. However, the Blood DLC is what really irritates me. Yeah, it is only $3, and yeah, they did add some events onto the campaign, so it's not just a graphical effect. But it's hard to imagine playing this game without it. I heard that supposedly they do this so the base game gets a lower age rating, but how will this pan out for Game 3? There might be Chaos Demons and all kinds of other horrors showing up. The idea of paying to essentially uncensor a game really doesn't sit right with me. Could you imagine a movie doing that? I don't mean two different rated edits of the same movie. This would be a clerk going, yeah, the PG-13 version's $15, but if you want the full R-rated one, that's going to be $19. I hope we don't bring the blood tax back. So no, I'm not going to defend that. I find it incredibly silly. As far as factions go, I wouldn't call any piece of DLC essential for them, except for one which I'll talk about later. Really, one of my bigger DLC issues is that units can be integrated into the campaign better. For the Empire DLC, cheap archers and militia units would be perfect for a city garrison. If you know what you're doing, you don't have much of a reason to recruit these units past the mid-game, so they could at least show up again for some minor town defense. Make the Empire proud. Speaking of that, I need to wrap up the Empire and move on. I think they're in a great place, I don't have much to complain about. I mean, I do wish I could reach Pigbarter faster. For whatever reason, it's now my personal Jerusalem. I could win with a multi-ocean empire, but I'll be unhappy if I don't have it. I guess their tech tree is still kind of dry, and there's room for more down there. I'm not going to mention missing units for factions unless it's dire because, yeah, everyone wants new stuff. Come on, Creative Assembly, just add a land ship. Just do that. It only took me like 2 days to build one in Minecraft. I had time, you know, because I forgot my forum password.
All those that oppose me will die and rise again as my puppets.
Maybe in the trailer, but not this review because we're playing as Vlad. With the weird lighting, his head kind of looks like the sun anyhow. The vampire counts mainly reside in a rogue imperial state called Sylvania. Like the name Transylvania without the first part. Many counts are banned from the courts for arguing over it. In the campaign, they're the direct rivals of the Empire. They're always causing trouble on the eastern border with swarms of undead. Vampires are a master of necromancy. They do everything J.K. Rowling said you're not allowed to do with magic. But who cares what that crazy lady says? Wave your magic wand, say abracadabra, and suddenly all kinds of friends are coming over. They don't have nearly as many magic schools as the Empire, but they make up for it by having one of the best ones in the game. Summon the undead behind your enemy. Resurrect your friends from death again. Treat life and death like a game of Jenga. Sure, it falls over eventually, but you can put the pieces back together into something. The vampire army is very different than the Empire. They have no artillery. Actually, they have no ranged weapons at all in their main roster. Instead, they have terrifying creatures of the night to close the gap. Ranged weapons won't be too effective against a being that's playing footsie with the material plane. And speaking of planes, a lot of their stuff flies. You can shoot some down, but can you shoot all of them down? The Counts are a bit of a swarm faction. A lot of their roster is incredibly effective and also cheap to produce. Of course, like any faction, they do have their expensive high-tier units. More than enough vampires and monsters will fill out an October Party City. But their true horror comes when they're fully backed up by a horde of the undead. Zombies are slow and horrible warriors, but they are good at absorbing shots meant for better monsters, or for tying down and tiring out more dangerous enemies. Naturally, nearly every unit in their roster can cause fear or terror, which actually are two different things. Fear makes an enemy less confident in fighting. Terror can make them run back for a bit. So with the right setup, you can spook your way to victory. Look at these floating wraiths, you can bet they cause terror. Do you think the walls of your city can stop a ghost? What the fuck? Not yet. Not yet. It's too early. Just let it go. So yeah, in battle they play like an angry, biting river. And on the campaign map, they're just as horrifying. Besides normal unit recruiting, they can flat out raise the dead. When two factions fight, they leave a lot of dead behind, and you can exploit that. The bigger the pile of dead in the battle site, the more complicated creatures you can summon. Yeah, it can be pricey, but it's instant, and you can do it anywhere. No special buildings, no waiting on turns, instant ramen undead. You can use powerful technologies to complement this. They have a pretty good tech tree, but then you find the unlock for free skeleton and zombie upkeep. So once they're made, they're no drain on the economy. Just have 2 or 3 undead hordes follow the main army around. That's a lot of skeletons to throw into the fire, but don't worry, they're just undead. I love that they animated the skeletons marching in perfect unison. It goes the extra mile to show they're just corpses being puppeted. So the good news is they're not afraid of anything. They'll never run away. The bad is that magic holds them together. So instead of running away when they're in trouble, they'll just start disintegrating. They get weaker until they crumble into dust. So you need to give them special attention for your unit not to vanish completely. Their lords are also absurdly powerful, but they're also the ones holding the army together. If they go down, the whole army can soon follow. So what stops them from steamrolling the map? The power of vampiric corruption. This represents concentrated Halloween vibe. Enemy armies take attrition from it. It represents undead attacking them in their territory nonstop, so it gives their territory an extra layer of defense. At the same time, vampire armies hate being away from it. They're completely out of their element. Other factions can get rebels from too much corruption. You get them if you don't have enough. So you use agents and buildings to slowly spread your corruption out, ideally striking when the region will be secure. All vampire lords are hurt from it. Well, mostly all.
Oh, here goes. Everybody out there, go run and tell your homeboys and homegirls it's time for
Kemmler and Krell. Kemmler's not a vampire, but he's a damn good necromancer. His army doesn't care about corruption. He's too old to give a shit anymore. In some footage I got for their factions, you could see Kemmler just vacationing around. He's on a world tour, and he's not alone.
Best not displease me. Krell would not like that.
Krell is a manservant slash stand and can be summoned into the game at any time by Kemmler. He's a strong boy, able to be summoned behind enemy lines and just wreak havoc. They're so intertwined that little K has an entire skill tree just for buffing big K. Sometimes I wish that Krell was a proper hero, but keeping them together like this is pretty fun. Now that we're on the Necromancers, that does lead into my big issue with the vampire counts.
We lay at Port Royal, Jamaica, our vessel very leaky. And heaving in the hold where the water came in. We heeled the ship over and found a rat had eaten through the side at the water's edge. Was it not for the superintending providence, how few seamen would be spared to old age, considering the perils they go through. In this ship I was stationed when at sea in the maintop, and I imagine that I have slept hundreds of hours in this top, even when the ship was rolling near gunwale in and often pitching with very sudden jerks against a head sea. But through mercy I was never thrown out of the top. And the pillow I made use of was a small box of gunpowder deposited there for the hanker-busses and the blunderbusses in case of engaging the enemy. On one passage, many of the crew were attacked with excruciating pains in their bowels, and I believe nearly half of the men were confined to their hammocks. This disease our surgeons supposed to be the effect of poison. Accordingly, the copper boilers were examined, and a quantity of verdigris was discovered on the inside of the peas copper, which the cook's mate had neglected to clean. As usual. For my part, I escaped by not liking the peas soup. And as I was always fond of administering to the sick, I was employed by the surgeon to assist in dispensing the medicines, and in a few days, through mercy, they all recovered. At another time, in some carelessness, the lead beneath the fireplace covering of the deck was melted, and the fire burnt through the deck. But providentially, the carpenter, going to his storeroom in the cockpit, discovered the fire overhead, and it was soon extinguished. Had it not been discovered so early, as the storeroom contained oakum and pitch, etc., the consequences might have been fatal, and our loss never accounted for. This ship being a contract one, our provisions were of infamous quality. The beef appeared coarse. The barrels of pork consisted of pig heads with iron rings still in their noses, pig's feet and pig's tails with much of their hair thereupon. Each man had 6 pounds of bread and 5 pounds of salted meat per week, but neither beer, spirits, nor candles were allowed. I love reading about and trying to understand the life of an 18th century sailor. Nothing makes that as easy to understand as being on a tall ship, just like what they would have had in the 18th century. Our experiences here on the Friends Goodwill. This is the Michigan Maritime Museum, South Haven, Michigan. Such wonderful folks that have hosted us here today to take pictures and do video. I love being able to walk the deck just like a sailor in the 18th century. Amazing experience. If you're ever in Southwest Michigan, make sure to check this out. And for more videos about salt pork or ship's biscuit, check these out. Travel is a very interesting topic when we're talking about the 18th century. You know, a lot of people say, I wish I lived in a simpler time. I wish I lived, in the 1700s. Well, when we start to think about and conceptualize travel in the 18th century, I think many of us are
What is it you want? The work has stalled. I need you to come back.
myself, you know. And I've had enough of this rot. Come on!
As the chaos spread, the star seemed doomed to unravel, and yet... there were those who stood in defiance of that fate. The hour is come, Vritra. It's all or nothing. Will our heroes deign to play their part? You took your time. 'Tis as we feared. The respite afforded this land was but fleeting. The end draweth nigh. Secrets to tell. Take care, my friend.
So, Charlian would keep its counsel while the world is lost to ruin?
It would. Come what may, we shall live on. We must.
Do as you must, then. But we scions will fight until the heavens fall, until our last breath.
The far
can't tell me who to be, 'cause I'm not what they see. Yeah, the world is still sleeping while I keep on dreaming for me. And their words are just whispers and lies that I'll never believe. And I want a moment to be real. Wanna touch things I don't feel. Wanna hold on and feel I belong. And how can you say I'll never change? They're the ones that stayed the same. I'm the one now, 'cause I'm still here. I'm the one, I'm still here. I'm still here. No, I'm still here. I'm still There once was a ship that was put to sea, and the name of the ship was a Billy O.T. The winds blew hard, or bowed it down, oh blow, my bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whales took him up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she died below. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was cut, no whale was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line went slack, then tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Yeah, gobbling up things like chicks.
As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the line's not cut, and the whale's not gone. The wellerman makes his regular call to encourage the captain, crew, and all. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. There once was a ship that was put to sea, and the name of the ship was a Billy O.T. The winds blew hard, or bowed it down, oh blow, my bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whales took him up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she died below. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line went slack, then tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the line's not cut, and the whale's not gone. The Wellerman makes his regular call to encourage the captain, crew, and all. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. There once was a ship that was put to sea, and the name of the ship was a Billy O.T. The winds blew hard, or bow dip down, oh blow, my bully boys blow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whales took him up and caught her. All hands to the side, harpooned and fought her when she died below. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. No line was cut, no whale was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the whaleman's creed. She took that ship in tow. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. For 40 days or even more, the line went slack, then tight once more. All boats were lost, there were only 4, but still that whale did go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the line's not cut, and the whale's not gone. The Wellerman makes his regular call to encourage the captain, crew, and all. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. There once was a ship that was put to sea, and the name of the ship
flowing hard, the land we call our home. Push to keep the dark from coming, feel the weight of what we owe. This, the songs of sons and daughters, hide the heart of who we are. making peace to build our future. Strong, united, working till we fall, and we all lift, and we're all adrift together, together, through the cold mist, till we're lifeless, together, together. Sons and daughters hide the heart of who we are, making peace to build our future. Strong, united, working till we fall. The air and water flowing hard, the land we call our home. Push to keep the dark from coming. Feel the weight of what we owe. This, the songs of sons and daughters hide the heart of who we are, making peace to build our future. Strong, united, working till we fall, and we all lift, and we're all adrift together, together, through the cold mist, till we're lifeless, together, together.